Deadlift and British Strongman Podcast, episode 60. So Shane and I did a coaching seminar, group coaching session for Strongman on Saturday, and it was lots of fun, and we got loads from it. So I'm just going to cover some of the cues that we covered on some of the exercises, some of the things that come up a lot that you'll be able to take and apply yourself. What do you think, Shane? Yeah. I'm the fucking dragon. All right, mate. So let's start off with deadlift. So what I saw as a common theme was quite a few people were setting up close to the bar, too close to the bar, with the shins close to the bar. When a lot of people learn how to deadlift, that's one of the first cues that people learn, it seems, is that the shin should be touching or whatever. And I just think it's complete bollocks. For shifting the most weight possible, we want to be able to create space that allows us to drive with the legs, with the knees a little bit over the bar, to facilitate leg drive. If you set up too close as you go to drive with the legs and the knee tracks over the bar ever so slightly, you're going to be pushing the bar forward. So a thing for everybody to take away from this, if you're listening to this, and from the seminar the other day, is work with 50% of your max. Take a video and have a look. Take a video from the side of your deadlift and have a look at where the bar moves. Is the bar moving in a straight line? It has to move in a straight line. That's a non-negotiable. A lot of people, even really advanced lifters, like I see so many people, like very common to, as they initiate the pull, the plates rock forward and then the bar peels off the floor. Sometimes you see people setting up too far away, and then as they initiate the pull, the plates move closer to the shins as they initiate the pull. So we want to find that sweet spot where the bar moves in a straight line. For a lot of people, this will actually be in a straight line from the start position, and it'll appear that it's coming ever so slightly back. So it'll be in a straight line, but it's coming ever so slightly back. So this will be for people who are driving through the legs, who are setting up with the bar a little bit further away from the shins to facilitate that leg drive that I talked about. So obviously if you're setting up a little bit further away, where the bar touches the hip at lockout, that it's going to mean that the bar actually travels closer to your body. Yeah, we start off roughly around midfoot, but it actually travels from a little bit out in front of you to the hip at lockout. So it'll be in a straight line, but it may appear that it comes ever so slightly towards you. So give this a go, give this a practice. Let me know how you get on. If you feel like you take a video of your top set of deadlifts and the bar's moving forward as you initiate the pull, then go to 50% of your max, do something like 10 triples, and take your video from the side and find that sweet spot where the bar path is moving in a straight line. And this should be a non-negotiable, and you should aim to fix this before loading up with the weight. This is the same for any level of lifting. You should be fixing that as a priority. So many people get so wound up on deadlifts about focusing on keeping the back straight and improving like a lot of people where they should be focusing on improving positioning, they're just focusing on getting tight in the lats and getting tight in the core and stuff. Like, yeah, this stuff is great, but this stuff should be built on top of ideal positioning and mechanics. Whereas a lot of people make the error of learning the bracing stuff first, and really they're just bracing and letting themselves get away with lifting a heavier weight in a shit position. So hopefully that gives you, this will make sense to you if you take some videos from the side and look, is that bar moving in a straight line? Simple fix. So we talked a bit about log as well. So log, there are a couple of people a bit inconsistent with the rack position. A lot of people struggling with some of the guys looking really strong from the shoulders, but then maybe sometimes a bit hit and miss. Sorry, good repping from the shoulders, but sometimes a bit hit and miss when they're pressing straight after a clean, which obviously we need after the comp. So, we need when we compete. So, a few people ask where they should, what the ideal angle is to start the log clean so it lands in the right position in the rack. Well, the answer to this, in my opinion, is it depends. It completely depends on the log. So if somebody has told you before that, oh, you should have the log handles angled down at X degrees, or they should have them pointing forward or whatever, it's not necessarily it's not going to be the right thing for everybody, because everybody's torso length is very different. So it's very individual, because so what you need to do is you need to find out what is the best way to do it for you, depending on the log that you're using. And this is going to differ whether you're using a 10-inch log, a 12-inch log, 13-inch log. So I think you should learn this skill, what I'm going to explain, so then you know when you're warming up at your comp on a foreign log, you'll be able to know exactly what the best position is for you to clean that log from is. So next time you do log press, what I would recommend that you do is start off really light. Start with the log above your head. So obviously lift it over your head to start with, and then do a controlled eccentric into the rack, and establish your ideal rack position that feels really powerful when you go to leg drive, etc., without losing and rolling forward. Once you've established this ideal rack position for the log, what I want you to do is slowly let the log roll from the ideal rack position down your torso, and then see where it lands in the hip. And the angle that it lands in the hip is the position where you should be starting the clean from. So if your handles might be pointing down at 45 degrees, it might be 50, 55-ish degrees or whatever in the hip. But you need to find this by doing what I've just said. And then your job when you're picking the log up is to deliver to that exact angle in the hip when you begin the hip drive for the clean. So this is the same whether you sit deep with the hips or whether you clean with the high hip. It doesn't matter. It's still this little technique is going to work. What do you think, Shane? Yeah. I'm the fucking dragon. Yeah, I'm the fucking dragon. Right. So next thing. So we'll just talk about yoke and yoke and farms. I'll cover the main things that we saw on there with most people at the weekend were footwork. You could see a lot of people trying to be really like doing a few steps and then really trying to stride out and then looking really unstable with the yoke, and in particular, and the guys who do farmers. But you could, there were a couple of guys that we encouraged to take shorter, more stable steps, and we used the demonstration of getting into a long split stance and getting them to stabilize, and then I shoved someone over and showed him how easy it was to shove him over when he was taking longer steps, and then I got him to stand with the short split stance, and he was a lot more solid. And it's obviously such a simple kind of demonstration, but it does make you realize that how much more stable you are with shorter steps. So with that in mind, in order to, because obviously it's a bit counterintuitive, we think that the reason why we're stepping out with the weights is in order to be faster, because it's a race, and you're going to cover ground quicker. But realistically, when you get into maximal weights on a yoke and farmers, it's not necessarily going to be optimal to, if you're near your grip limit on farmers, or if you're near your pickup limit on yoke, it's probably not going to be a weight that you should be really stepping out with, or that you're going to be able to. So with 3 or 4 guys, we got them to really shorten up the stride, and then they felt instantly more stable, and then got them to focus on speed via improving the turnover speed of the steps rather than stepping out. And and yeah, we were just showing that people could be just as fast, if not faster, with the shorter choppy steps. But the trade-off is the stability was so much more scalable to the heavier loads. When they were increasing the weight, they were looking pretty much the same in terms of technique, and they weren't looking unstable. Did you notice that, Shane? Yeah. I'm the fucking dragon. So another thing that we noticed on yoke was, I think there were 4 people who noticed this cue. I noticed that a lot of people spending a lot of energy getting really, really tight in their upper back. That is such a common cue that you hear thrown around, like get really tight in your upper back, get really elbows high, or this kind of thing that the people are creating stability in there. I actually think it's a bit of a waste of energy, and I feel like if your positioning is optimal, that you can save a lot of energy not trying to create loads of tension in your upper back. Like if you find that, I talk about it a lot, the weightless rack position, it's not just the same thing for overhead lifts, it's actually the same for yoke as well. You'll be able to find that sweet spot on your upper back, traps, wherever, that feels relatively weightless, because basically your joints are stacked on top of each other. And that's the position that we want to find. So if we're focusing on getting really, really tight before the pickup, sometimes, especially if you're not training yoke a lot, which a lot of people don't have the facility to, then this kind of tension that you're creating can hide inefficiencies, really. It can mean that you're kind of covering up the fact that you're in an inefficient position, because you're creating all this force that's making you lift a decent amount of weight, but you're actually wasting a lot of energy. Whereas if you learn how to relax, like I got, I think 4 guys to just relax their arms and their upper body, and just rely on the feedback of the yoke, either pulling them forwards or backwards, to kind of find that sweet spot where they felt balanced. And then all of a sudden they could relax their arms a lot more, but they felt just as stable, if not more stable, because they were in a more optimal position. And then they had all this energy where what they could focus on striding out with the footwork and stuff. So I'm not expecting you to be sold if you're just listening to this, but just sold straight away without trying it. But just give it a go and let me know how you get on. Try it with like your warm up sets, light weights, 50 to 60% of what your top set's going to be, 10 to 20 meter runs. and almost use the kind of relaxed arm thing to help you find that optimum position on your back. And then when you get up to your working set, then add the stability and as like the icing on the cake, or the cherry on the top of the cake, or whatever, rather than bracing right from the start. And I suspect that a lot of you, especially if you don't train yoke that frequently, will notice a big difference in position. And then when you add the normal upper back tightness onto your top sets as well, like I think it's going to be good. So I demonstrated this for some guys by actually taking the upper body out of the equation, and I did a couple of 10-meter runs with, I can't remember what weight it was, but just demonstrated that it didn't even have to hold on at all, and I just did them without touching the yoke with my hands, and it just forced me to find the good position on the back. So another thing that I recommend on yoke as well is which again, it's against what a lot of people say, but I coach quite a few guys that get to do this, and I do it myself, and that's actually go for a lower bar position on the back. So like basically like a low bar squat versus a high bar squat, if you will. And so the rationale being that the lower the position on your back, so putting it more like towards your rear delts than like your traps, if you will, you're reducing the moment arm. You're reducing the length of basically where you need the base of where you need to stabilize and where the weight is on your body. So this is going to basically, in theory, all skill being equal, high bar and low bar position, you're going to be in a better position to stabilize a heavier load or the same load more efficiently. So have a little bit of a play around with that. If you're quite new to yoke, I would definitely recommend just right from the start, take a lower position. Some people say you shouldn't do this because it pulls you forward or whatever, which is bollocks in my opinion, because you're just finding that whether you're high bar or low bar, you're finding that weightless position that's where the load is going to be balanced. So the lower the bar position, the more the torso angle has to lean forward, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're being pulled forward. It just has to be there to be balanced. So yeah, hopefully that will give you another thing to play with. But yeah, we've covered three things there that, and we'll cover bag throw, stones, and dumbbell, and some of the other stuff that we've covered in another episode. But here's a bite-sized episode where you can hope everybody's got a cue to practice on the deadlift, on the log, and the moving events. So tag us and let us know how you get on. Have you got anything to add, Shane? I'm the fucking dragon. Right. Diddle-a-dum-dum.